One Piece is the best and highest selling manga series of all time, but did you know its road to success is paved with countless controversies? From being banned in entire countries, Oda's use of AI art, a spicy manga incident, and even several arrests. Today, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the iceberg that is One Piece controversies, starting with the least controversial and getting progressively wilder, ending with convicted criminals. And if you think this is an exaggeration, just watch to the end of this video to learn about the darkest One Piece controversies. Starting with Ace's tattoo and the Whitebeard Jolly Roger controversy. The changing of Ace's tattoo is one of the most noticeable differences when you compare reading One Piece to watching the anime. When Ace first makes his Alabasta appearance, the first thing you probably notice is the massive Jolly Roger he has tattooed across his entire back. But depending on how you consume One Piece, this tattoo may look very different. Both Jolly Rogers do represent the same Whitebeard pirates, but in the manga it wasn't the cross-like Jolly Roger that is more famously known today. Instead, many readers outside of Asia noticed the tattoo held a shockingly similar aesthetic to the symbol of the Nazi party, which would catch anyone out of the know off guard, especially if they've been hearing about how great of a person this Ace character is. To this day, Ace still ranks rather high on popularity polls, but fret not, Ace fans, because this symbol is actually one that represents things like peace, happiness, and a long life, which is all things that Whitebeard stood for. It's a popular symbol across many Asian countries including Japan, and appears in various religions dating back thousands of years. But when One Piece decided to try to enter the Western marketplace, localized distributors recommended changing the symbol across the board to avoid confusion. A lot of the debates around this issue revolve around why should other cultures' artists be forced to change their non-offensive material, instead of the people that may be offended doing more research and becoming more cultured. Plus, One Piece isn't the only anime or manga you can find this symbol. Just take a look at Ichigo's guard in Bleach or Kazumaru's forehead tattoo in Yu Yu Hakusho. Oda's use of AI art. AI in general is an overall polarizing topic, but the debate around it gets especially heated when it comes to AI generated art and the efficacy of how it obtains its data for the art in the first place, that some deem plagiarism. Some of the controversies around AI art include certain anime studios opting to use AI rather than pay traditional animators or voice actors so they can save money, and AI artists actually winning official art contests and prize money that left the other contestants, quote, furious. And so our own Oda would manage to stumble into this PR nightmare not once but twice. First, when he created and released a new One Piece themed song using artificial intelligence. The AI generated song is called Yo-Ho-Ho We Pirates, and it was tweeted by the official Japanese One Piece Twitter account. The first slide of the video reveals that AI is responsible for both the lyrics and the music for the song. And at the end of the video, Oda leaves a message saying, quote, I asked AI to create a song for One Piece. Even though I do understand why this would be controversial, especially by Twitter standards, I put it as one of the least controversial on this list because Oda had no plans to integrate the song into the actual series. And additionally, he was very upfront about using AI and didn't try to hide it or get exposed or anything like other creators. The other time Oda experimented with AI actually happened previous to the AI song, when he used it for an independent project where he reimagined the drawing of Rob Lucci in different art styles. It seems to me that Oda just likes having fun with his own IP and is fascinated by AI technology, and he has been for a long time now. Remember Oda's AI girlfriend you learned about from our Exposing Oda's Lifestyle video? But anyway, what do you think? Is it okay for Oda to use AI even unofficially in his free time? Or is any use of it by Oda betraying his fellow artists in their fight against the moral use of AI art and its effect on their industry? Let me know in the comments. One Piece's 4Kids dub and censorship. This might be one of the most notorious of the One Piece debacles. One Piece's 4Kids dub has become the Voldemort of the anime community.
We do not speak his name.
Just hearing the name can cause PTSD flashbacks to any One Piece fan old enough to remember the OG English adaptation that aired on a weekly basis during a 5-hour Saturday morning cartoon block along with other animated series. A segment that, though was aimed at children, honestly had a pretty impressive lineup. Some of the most popular shows they broadcasted included Sonic X, Pokemon, Dragon Ball Kai, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kirby, and Yu-Gi-Oh! But when they added One Piece to their lineup, it came with several extreme issues. The first being that 4Kids reportedly licensed the series solely based on its merchandising potential because of its overwhelming popularity in Japan, and because it was a part of a package deal along with other series they've been wanting for a long time. But at the time they acquired One Piece, not one person at the entire company had ever watched or even researched the series. Like, not even at Google, because when 4Kids staff finally watched One Piece, they were in shock about how unsuitable the material was for their target demographic, 7 to 11-year-old children. But they had already committed to localizing the series. They would send the footage and the script over to American television networks so they could review it and determine which elements would be allowed for the English version. They would confirm shortly after that they would be taking out all traces of smoking, alcohol consumption, and violence before the show could ever be aired. Which brings us to the second major problem. For a story-driven action series about pirates and a power struggle against the Marines and other forces, their editing and censorship basically destroy the entire appeal of the series. Though their other shows like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh were also censored.
These donuts are great! Jelly-filled are my favorite! Nothing beats a jelly-filled donut!
Far less of those shows' mature content was so integral to the series like it is for One Piece. This is just some or 4Kids' most notorious changes. No smoking at all means pretty much every single one of Sanji's scenes were edited, with him now trying to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. Smoker cigars were just removed altogether, so he just constantly had smoke coming from his mouth in an obviously unnatural way. And for some reason, they did unnecessary cultural changes, like anytime onigiri appears, they replace it with chocolate chip cookies.
They call me Vanilla Rice!
Which, by the way, also removes all sentiment behind the name of Zoro's signature move, which is a homage to the girl who fed him while he was Helmeppo's prisoner. Speaking of Zoro, his name was changed to Zolo to match the Viz translation, which I just don't like for several reasons.
Look at the size of those rabbits, Zolo!
And you, all bark, no bite. Woof, woof, woof. You're not fun.
Ace's name was also changed to Trace. I read this was because Ace is like an alcohol brand or something, and Captain Smoker was now called Captain Chaser, which ironically made Smoker sound more like an alcoholic than Ace's name made him. The most immersion breaking changes for me was all the guns being changed to like Looney Tune levels of weaponry. Helmeppo's gun gets changed like a hammer gun thing, all the Marines get water guns, Bellemere gets a shovel, etc, etc. All traces of suspense and tension had been removed, and the worst part is, in some cases, they removed or rewrote entire scenes, plot points, and even arcs. Given how much effort Oda puts into foreshadowing and focuses on character development, this was catastrophic to the story. For example, Bellemere didn't die, but was put in a dungeon in a nice room.
How about a nice room in a dungeon for the rest of your day? If you can't pay the cash, then you're out with the trash. And feel free to quote me. Yeah!
But that doesn't even make sense. One, because Nami would have definitely went to go see her / free her after they defeated Arlong. And two, Luffy would have definitely not allowed her himself by proxy when he flattened Arlong Park. And then they straight up removed both the Little Garden and Reverse Mountain arc, which held crucial plot details for down the line. Nola Boone means Brook's entire backstory and reason for joining the Straw Hats is now non-existent. This arc is also where we meet both Vivi and Crocus, who are both canonically important characters. Basically, I solely hold 4Kids responsible for One Piece's slow rise in the West. But one important thing you should know is that the only good thing that came from the 4Kids dub was the opening One Piece rap song. It non-ironically slapped hard AF. I'm not even lying, I re-listened to it to make this video and it was even better than I remembered. It's kind of like this she shanty hip-hop anti-authorian rap blend that honestly deserves a Grammy.
Sanji's cooking, Chopper's doctoring.
The alleged whitewashing of Nico Robin is still one of the most debated controversies in the One Piece community, even though it's been like a decade since it begun. And this is mainly because there is still no explanation on Robin's pre versus post time skip skin complexion change. If you take a look at Robin when we first met her all the way up to right before the time skip, and then compare her to modern Nico Robin, you will notice that she is notably paler. The difference is drastic enough to prompt some fans to claim she was whitewashed when One Piece's popularity really started exploding, and the time skip just kind of gave them an excuse. Regardless if this conspiracy is true or not, it is different enough where it had to be a conscious choice from the animators and or studio. It went from conspiracy to controversy when some people started wondering if there was any malice behind these changes, colorism, or just really anything nefarious. And then there was others who just really preferred her original design and missed it. And then it gets more complicated when people try to add in-story reasons on why she got paler, which from my understanding, I don't think any of them work. An example I see often is people theorize the reason Robin was darker whenever we first met her is because she was staying in the Alabasta desert and therefore she got really tan. But that can't possibly be the reason because we see her as a kid during the Ohara flashback and she was just as dark then. We even get to see her mom who shared that same darker complexion. Now, I'm not saying the studio did change it for any nasty reasons, I'm just saying we don't know why and there isn't any canon reason for the changes that I know of. I mean, Robin's eyes are blue in the anime but brown in the manga, so sometimes the studio just does things and doesn't explain it. I see some people say they prefer Robin's previous design because it made her stand out, and they feel now she looks too much like every other female character in One Piece, specifically referencing her and Boa Hancock's similarities. Because of the lack of info on this issue, there will always be conspiracies behind this detail of One Piece. But that being said, darker skinned Robin to this day has a cult-like following who prefer her original design. But let me know in the comments what you prefer, the pre or post time skip Robin design. This next one is what I call One Piece's, let's say, spicy manga controversy. Yes, this is a real thing, but it might not be what you think. When it comes to the creation process of the One Piece manga, Oda is the author, artist, and has overall control of the direction of the story. But he does allow input from 3 people he trusts, aka his editors. Their names are manga editor Takano, manga editor Iwasaki, and media editor Nato. In Japan, these guys are basically celebrities themselves, as they are sort of the face of the One Piece brand and promotion, as Oda really likes to stay inside, preferring to work than do promotion or live events. The 3 often do things like go on TV to promote One Piece, do in-person events, and even create content for the official One Piece YouTube channel. But another thing that they do frequently is One Piece related live streams. And as we all know from the countless live stream fails that go viral on a weekly basis, live streaming is just a format bred to make mistakes, and mistakes they did make. So the editors hosted a live stream to promote the One Piece 1000 Logs project, which was honestly a pretty cool thing Shueisha did to celebrate One Piece's 1000th chapter. But while they were showing off the 1000 Logs website, we got a glimpse of the browsing history of one of the editors, which is something I'm sure none of us ever want to happen. His browsing history included several websites, but one really stood out. Let's just say it was an adults only spicy anime and manga corn site. And look, I'm not here to judge. We've all dabbled on the more culture side of the internet. I mean, it's a little weird he does do it while he's at work surrounded by his peers, but that's a whole nother thing altogether. Anyway, the real reason why this became so controversial and belongs this deep into the list is because this particular website was a non-official scanlation site that listed illegally obtained material, which is extra naughty because basically he was pirating manga while working for an official manga publisher who actively fights against pirated scan sites. Beyond that, Shueisha and Shonen Jump are basically the boogeyman of DMCA takedowns. Just ask Totally Not Mark, whose controversy deserves an honorable mention itself. After the incident, Shueisha pretty much immediately took down the live stream and privated the video, so no one else could see it. But they never said anything about it officially, and the editor got to keep his position. But I'm sure he caught a verbal assault for some of the higher ups. Toei Animation had a similar moment of ironic hypocrisy on September 13, 2019, when Toei's official Twitter account tweeted a spoiler from the One Piece manga. They are in charge of adapting the One Piece anime, so they are followed by thousands of anime-only watchers. And given the anime is about a year behind where the manga is, but what makes this double wrong is this particular screenshot was a pirated scanlation for a chapter that hasn't even been released by the official manga publisher yet. Basically, this means they not only spoiled anime-only watchers, but also official manga readers. Erupted on Twitter with people trashing Toei, including a direct diss from Stephen Paul, the official English translator of One Piece. He does all of the Viz translations. He added Toei saying, quote, "What effing dumbass is running the Toei Animation account retweeting scanlation screen caps?" A sentiment that was echoed by many fans for both spoiler and hypocrisy reasons, given Toei has gotten many Twitter and YouTube accounts shut down for this exact same thing. One Piece was banned in the entire country of Turkey. This one is pretty straightforward. The One Piece anime ran in Turkey for only 52 episodes under a title that can be translated to Rubber Boy. And the series was doing pretty well before it was abruptly pulled from all broadcasts in the entire country by Turkey's Radio and Television Supreme Council. They banned it because they didn't like the overall tone of the show and felt like it didn't align with the values of their country. Citing the overall violence, Zoro's drinking and Sanji's womanizing, but the nail in the coffin was actually Sanji and Smoker's smoking, which is reminiscent of the aforementioned 4-kid censorship, but instead of going the route they did, Turkey opted to ban the series altogether. Funny enough though, One Piece remains popular in Turkey despite the ban, thanks to Turkish One Piece fans continuing to watch via a popular pirated anime site. A pirate series fans being saved by a pirate side is kind of poetic when you think about it. I'm happy they still get to watch the Straw Hats chase their dreams. And if you want to help me chase my own dreams of becoming the pirate king of One Piece tube, just like this video and subscribe to my channel. My like goal for this video was 183 likes. This next one is kind of complicated because it involves both Oda and the One Piece fan base themselves. They have separate but related controversies around the LGBTQ+ community. The first was Oda catching some heat for the way he depicted and represented both queer and trans people early on in the series via the Okama and Newkama. They was basically all muscular, 5 o'clock shadowed, and sometimes scary looking individuals, and more often than not perverted, even often making unwanted advances on characters. In short, they was treated like a joke for comedic reasons, which some deemed as hurtful stereotypes. Now we all know what's acceptable changes with time, especially when you factor in not just time, but different countries' ideas of what's okay and or funny. But what I think really saved Oda from how bad this publicity could have got was even back then, some of his best written and iconic characters fell into the same category, like Bon Clay, Ivankov, and Inazuma, who are all just amazing characters. Also, if you pay attention to Oda's writing since the beginning and read his interviews, he's openly supportive of the LGBTQ community, which ironically leads to the second controversy around this topic. Over the years, Oda has gotten much better at implementing a wider variety of LGBTQ characters, like Kiku of the Fallen Snow and Yamato. But even though every character in the series itself respects them, the same can't be said for a small portion of the fanbase, where anytime their names get brought up, it's just chaos. I see a debate around specifically Yamato at least once a week on Twitter, but the same things happen with other characters as well. The arrest of Ivankov's original voice actor. Imamura is a Japanese stage and voice actor. He is the first voice behind the iconic Emporio Ivankov. Although Imamura has found success in several artistic mediums, he is just as notorious in Japan for being one of the most eccentric public figures, known to often push the boundaries of what is deemed acceptable by Japanese society. For example, Imamura considers himself a tattoo enthusiast and tattoos himself regularly as a hobby. He has reportedly spent 4 to 5 million yen over the last decade tattooing his entire body. This alone is enough to ruffle feathers. In case you didn't know, Japan is famously anti-tattoos. Even to this day, they are considered by the larger public sketchy. And if you have tattoos, you are even denied entry into things like most onsens, a rule dating back hundreds of years. The overarching reason is tattoos used to be a tell sign you was associated with the Yakuza, who used to be the only ones in Japan that had tattoos. And even though they are becoming more and more acceptable with the younger Japanese citizens, the controlling class still consider it unbecoming of public figures to be inked up. But being the rebel he is, Imamura was still very proud of his tattoos. And unfortunately for him, it was his same enthusiasm to show off his body art that landed him in hot water. In July 2010, Norio Imamura was arrested for posting, quote, indecent pictures because he posted full body pictures, including his lower body, on his blog with the intentions of showing that his entire body had been completely tattooed. He was celebrating that his decade-long body art adventure was finally finished. Being fully transparent, from the context of the articles I read, the biggest issue was you could see his weenie in the photos. And let's just say Japan's officials do not like big pics. That's why there's that blurry thing in all of their, let's say, movies. On September 1st, he was released following a summary proceeding at the Tokyo Public Prosecutor's Office, and he was forced to pay a $6,000 fine. This event led to Imamura being forced to step down from being the VA of Ivankov. This was disappointing to everyone involved, but especially to Oda, Because he based Ivankov on Imamura himself. He found the eccentric actor inspirational. Oda met Imamura at the theater while visiting to show support for his friend and co-worker Mayumi, the voice of Luffy. Mayumi worked frequently with Imamura in the theater and considered him a friend. Oda described his initial relationship with Imamura via a Q&A and an SBS for volume 58. A fan asked, "Is it just me, or is Emporio Ivankov a lot like Dr. Frankenfurter in the Rocky Horror Show?" Oda responded saying, "Yes, that's right. Rocky Horror Show is a movie that everyone who loves B-horror knows about, and I can't help but love it. It's the model for the entire Kama Island, or that's what it looks like. But there's actually one more model for Ivankov, a real-life Okama, who made me want to write more Okama characters after I created Bonchan. I first met him in the theater where Luffy's voice actor Mayumi works, and wow, powerful. His name is Imamura Norio-san, but I thought his face looked so much like a rock, so I mistakenly remembered it as Iwamura, Iwa meaning rock, and then I started calling him Iva-san. What surprised me even more was that Imamura-san, who knew he was the model for Iva-san, went on to audition for the anime and brilliantly scored the part. In other words, the real Okama who inspired the creation of Iva-san is right now playing the part of Iva-san in the TV anime. He's powerful." Oda seems so excited about the fact that Imamura was getting to voice Ivankov. And even though the studio ultimately did fire Imamura, Oda and Mayumi are still on good terms with him outside of work. Alright, so every segment from here on out gets a lot more serious than the previous topics. So this is a trigger warning for the rest of the video for topics surrounding various crimes like S-harassment, H-speech, SA, and other sensitive topics you might find uncomfortable. The Vic Mignogna Controversies. Vic is an American actor, voice actor, and musician, and honestly, up until his controversies, he was one of the most successful and frequently working voice actors in the entire dub industry. He has literally voiced over 100 anime characters. Some of his most popular roles include the voices of Edward Elric from Fullmetal Alchemist, which earned him the American Anime Award for Best Actor in 2007, Broly in the Dragon Ball films, Rohan in JoJo, which is one of my personal favorite anime characters, Ikkaku from Bleach, Obito, and Nagato in Naruto Shippuden, and a plethora of others. But the one that landed him in this video is One Piece's Sabo. He did also sing the English version of the third One Piece opening, Ikarie, who many consider the best English opening. Besides anime, he also acted in iconic TV series, playing Captain Kirk in Star Trek. He was literally famous in several different industries, but controversy would strike on February 9, 2019, when the first of many allegations accusing him of S-harassment, frequent homophobic comments, and much worse started surfacing back to back from his peers and alleged victims. Vic made a lot of his money by doing frequent signings and Q&As at various anime, video game, and sci-fi conventions, which is where many of these allegations surfaced from. He tried to talk his way out of this situation, but with so many stories surfacing at once, it was rather difficult, with some dating all the way back to the late 80s. Once the allegations went mainstream, he was swiftly removed from all of his roles related to One Piece. Besides Sabo, he voiced various minor roles as well. He was also fired from his other ongoing roles across dozens of animes, TV series, movies, and video games. He was then dropped from Funimation, Rooster Teeth, and Sony Pictures. Vic has denied any and all accusations against himself, taking to Twitter saying, quote, "My heart weeps for anyone who endures a violation of this kind. So to be accused of harming others in this way, I have no words." Vic took legal action claiming defamation against Funimation and others for firing him, but he lost and was even ordered by the courts to pay the defendant's legal fees. After years of battling both legally and socially, Vic returned to the anime scene about 2 years ago, when him and Anime Matsuri, a Houston convention, partnered to open up their own dubbing studio. The announcement did receive backlash, but to be honest, Vic still has a loyal fanbase. Though the accusations were serious, to my knowledge, he was never officially charged or arrested, but the same cannot be said for our next subject. Scott Freeman. Scott Freeman was the English voice actor of One Piece characters like Yasopp, Kamakuri, and Hambone, but he is now a convicted S offender. Scott has voiced in many other anime series as well, like High School DD, Psycho-Pass, Soul Eater, Baka and Test, Attack on Titan, and many others. But Funimation announced they had severed their relationship with Freeman and would replace him in all ongoing roles. After on April 5, 2014, Freeman was arrested for 8 counts of possession of CP. On July 30th, 2015, Freeman was convicted and sentenced to 3 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. He was paroled in 2018, but as of 2024, he hasn't had any new voice acting gigs. But the darkest, most complicated, and unfortunate One Piece controversies involves Eiichiro Oda himself and his former sensei, Nobuhiro Watsuki. If you watched my previous video, The Dark Rise of One Piece, anime's loneliest creator, you know that Oda's journey to becoming the most successful manga artist of all time is as interesting as it is complicated and even depressing. In it, I detail his entire relationship with Watsuki, but because this video is primarily about their controversies, I'm gonna just cover the highlights here. For most of Oda's career as an aspiring mangaka, he had worked for strict and tyrannical bosses who never took him serious. They treated him like an errand boy and never seriously reviewed any of his ideas. That was until he entered what would be his final assistant tenure under the legendary Nobuhiro Watsuki. Watsuki at the time was one of the most successful and respected manga creators in all of Japan. He is the creator of the iconic manga series and anime Rurouni Kenshin. The series was dominating the manga charts, making it a very lucky time for Oda to be working under him. But the best part for Oda is that he was incredibly nice to him, supported him, and even encouraged his ideas, claiming Oda had a lot of potential. One of Oda's ideas would actually pass all the hurdles and even make it into the Rurouni Kenshin manga. This was huge for Oda and gained him his first official credit for designing Honjo Kamatari, the Great Scythe, giving him confidence that he did have some good ideas. This would make Oda feel a sense of loyalty to Watsuki, a feeling that would come to haunt him years later. Soon after, Oda would begin reworking his failed Romance Dawn draft, a one-shot that would eventually become One Piece, and we all know how that turned out. Oda would hand in his resignation to Watsuki in hopes of becoming a professional mangaka himself. Watsuki would give him his blessing and the two would part ways on good terms. But it's incredibly ironic that the same man that would help give Oda his first big break as a manga artist would be the same one that would almost cause him to lose everything. In November of 2017, Tokyo Metropolitan Police would lead a raid on a resident's house who they had been investigating on the suspicion of the sale of CP. During the analysis of the perp's computer, they found the evidence they were looking for, but they also discovered a link that would lead them to the home of an associate of the criminal. They would follow it in hopes of further evidence or arrest of other members in the criminal network. However, they were shocked to see that this link would lead them to the home of Nobuhiro Watsuki. Shortly after, Watsuki's house and studio was raided, and the investigators' suspicions would unfortunately be confirmed, as over 100 DVDs were confiscated as evidence, with some of the victims on the tapes being as young as 10 years old. He was promptly arrested, and during his deposition, he immediately confessed to everything and went into an unnecessary amount of detail to the investigators. Watsuki said, quote, "I like girls in late elementary school to the second grade of junior high." After he was charged, Shueisha put his series on an indefinite hiatus. This sent shockwaves through Japan, as up until this point, Watsuki was one of the most respected mangaka ever. But things would get much more controversial when Watsuki would receive the lightest possible sentence. After he pled guilty, he paid a $1,500 fine and got no jail time. The public was understandably outraged, and with anime recently really blowing up worldwide around this time thanks to shows like Rurouni Kenshin, this became international news. But it would enter the news cycle once again a few years later, when Shonen Jump would announce via Twitter that the now manga superstar Eiichiro Oda would be doing a joint interview with Watsuki in celebration of the 25th anniversary of Rurouni Kenshin. Joint interviews between mangaka are fairly common in Japan. Several of your favorite manga artists have interviewed each other or got interviewed together. During the interview, Oda was asked, "What is it like working for Watsuki?" And Oda answered as honestly as he could, "I worked for him just under 4 months, but maybe it was the happiest moment of my entire life." The fan base was instantly split, with one side feeling that even reminiscing fondly or speaking good about someone who did what Watsuki was charged with is blasphemy and counts as supporting him. One article even claimed, quote, "The manga industry's continued support and adoration of Watsuki, including involvement of well-known mangakas like Eiichiro Oda, highlights the lack of accountability in the industry." Basically, they was highlighting the lack of actual consequences for Watsuki's actions. Even the Rurouni Kenshin manga resumed publication in June of 2018. And even recently, Rurouni Kenshin got a modern, high-budget anime remake in 2023 that re-sparked the debate on if one should separate the art from the artist. The other side of the One Piece fanbase feels that Oda has a right to tell his truth, as it is a part of his personal story. Without Watsuki, Oda might have given up and never became the man and creator he is today, and they feel he shouldn't be forced to rewrite his history. I feel as always the truth lands somewhere in the middle of both points, but I'll let you decide for yourself what side of the fence you fall on. One Piece is more popular today than ever before. Even with all of these dramas, it's safe to say that Oda has made his dream come true. And if you made it to the very end of this video, comment Apple so I know you're a real one who's helping my dream come true.